Hello, Fernandez families. My name is Jen Platt, and I am your campus literacy leader. My job here at Fernandez is to work with all of our students, especially one of my gifts that I get to engage in is to work with our kiddos that have this superpower called dyslexia. So I know a lot of people have questions about dyslexia, misunderstandings about dyslexia, or just want to know more. So I wanted to be sure that everyone had access to all of the information. I know that a lot of families were interested in coming to our parent dyslexia night and were unable to. So I thought I'd put together this little video to help share some of this information to where you could have it at your fingertips, and also so that you could ask any questions that you might have. So the first thing that we are going to do is I'm going to share a video with you that was created by the district. And this is going to answer a lot of those questions as well. And then we'll jump into some of the specifics that we have here at Fernandez.
Dyslexia, moving forward together. Dyslexia research has given us a lot of information about how the brain processes reading and writing. The Texas Education Code defines dyslexia and related disorders as a disorder of constitutional origin, manifested by a difficulty in learning to read, write, or spell, despite conventional instruction, adequate intelligence, and socio-cultural opportunity. Constitutional origin means that dyslexia is based in the way the brain functions, which is oftentimes known as a neurobiological disorder. It's manifested by a difficulty in learning to read, write, and spell. Students with dyslexia vary greatly in the severity and exact nature of these processing problems. That is why the experience of dyslexia is unique for each individual. Students with dyslexia have difficulty with phonological processing, rapid naming, and phonological memory. Dyslexia is caused by a deficit in the phonological processes of the brain. These processes include phonemic awareness, which is the process of recognizing and manipulating the basic sounds of words, and phonological memory, holding these sounds in memory long enough to associate them with a word. Rapid naming is the automatic recall of known words and is a related process that is also essential for efficient reading. Word recognition problems impact reading comprehension, vocabulary growth, background knowledge. Signs of dyslexia vary with age. Dyslexia can range from mild to severe and is unique to each individual. In preschool, signs of possible characteristics of dyslexia may be delayed learning to talk, difficulty with rhyming, trouble learning names of letters and numbers, and the inability to recall the right word. Let's review the signs in kinder and first grade. Difficulty breaking words into parts. An example would be base, ball, and nap, kin. Difficulty blending sounds to make a word. Example, sounds individually make the word man. Difficulty remembering names of letters and corresponding sounds. Difficulty spelling words the way they sound. Here are some possible signs in 2nd through 5th grade. Sight words are words that are frequently used in all text, like and, the, but, said. Difficulty learning spelling patterns. Difficulty reading fluently. The student may read at a slow, inaccurate pace without expression. Reliance on listening rather than reading for comprehension. Dyslexics can be knowledgeable about subjects of interest to them, but it has been acquired by listening to TV, class lessons, YouTube. Difficulty with homework completion. Middle school and high school signs of reading frustration can sometimes hide behind common negative teen behaviors. Difficulty with the volume of reading and written work. It takes an inordinate amount of time to complete a task. Difficulty with written assignments. Taking notes, timed writings, and completing compositions can be challenging. Difficulty learning a foreign language. This can be a struggle, especially since 2 years of language is needed for high school graduation. Avoidance of reading. Middle school and high school courses have a high volume of independent reading and may prove to be challenging. Northside teachers analyze and respond to data collected from screeners, academic benchmarks, assignments, and anecdotal notes. Early screening is mandated by the state of Texas and is done in kinder and first grade. Response to intervention is a process that focuses on targeting the student's areas of need. Students who have been identified as struggling readers through early screening will be placed into intervention, reading groups, and receive targeted small group instruction. Teacher referral. Students who are still not successful after interventions should be referred for further evaluation. This referral takes place in a RTI committee meeting. Parent request for evaluation. A parent can request an evaluation at any time. Effective communication between parents and school will lead to the best outcomes for the student. When a decision is made at a response to intervention meeting, then a few procedures will be followed. Informal data gathering means that we collect work samples, state or district assessment scores, attendance history, and vision and hearing screening. We'll look at scores from kinder, first, and second grade reading screening, any previous formal testing, and we'll review interventions or accommodations that have been done. The formal assessment is conducted under the guidelines for special education IDEA as a full individual evaluation, or Section 504. Assessment instruments are scientifically valid and reliable and are administered by trained professionals. The identification procedures involve the ARD committee or the 504 committee to analyze data and the formal assessment to determine if there is a pattern of unexpected reading difficulties that indicate characteristics of dyslexia. Students who have been identified as having characteristics of dyslexia will receive services according to their needs. Each student's needs and services are unique. The committee will discuss specialized dyslexia intervention, classroom accommodations, and testing accommodations. A student with dyslexia will have his or her progress monitored throughout the year. Kevin O'Leary is known for being smart, successful, and tough. In this video, he remembers how during his childhood, he seemed to be none of these things. Effective dyslexia instruction helped him to overcome his struggles and to view his dyslexia not as a problem, but as a superpower. After watching Kevin O'Leary's interview, we can see that dyslexia is a lifetime disability. Early intervention and targeted instruction can alter its course and set our students up for success. A teaching certificate is all that is required to teach students with dyslexia. What is essential is special training in the specific program and training on working with dyslexic students in general. In Northside, it is primarily reading specialists who receive training in the specialized dyslexia programs and dyslexia instructional approaches and strategies. Effective dyslexia instruction is unique to every student identified with characteristics of dyslexia. There isn't one program that fits the differences in degree of impairment in every student with dyslexia. Here are some research-based approaches and strategies. In the delivery of instruction, a student should experience the following: multi-sensory instruction, which uses all learning pathways, such as kinesthetic tactile, visual and auditory, simultaneously to enhance memory and learning. Systematic and cumulative instruction begins with the easiest concepts and progressing to more difficult concepts, such as beginning with the basic sound of a letter, moving on to one-syllable words, and then progressing to multi-syllable words. Repetitive instruction allows the student to practice skills multiple times in different ways to support retention. Components of instruction will involve: phonological awareness is the study of the internal sound structure of our language. A phoneme is the smallest unit of sound in a word. Students need to be instructed on how to segment spoken words into their individual phonemes. Advanced phonological awareness involves blending, deleting, and substituting the sounds in words. Phonics involves learning the sounds of language with the corresponding letter or letter combinations. We have 26 letters in our alphabet and 44 sounds that represent them. Word study involves learning 3 areas in a language. The first is orthography, which is the written spelling patterns and rules in our language. The second is morphology, which is the study of base words, roots, and affixes. And the third area is syntax, which is the sequence and function of words in a sentence. This includes grammar and sentence variation regarding writing mechanics. Reading instruction involves comprehension and fluency. Students with dyslexia receive individualized accommodations according to the impact dyslexia has on their classroom performance. The use of accommodations occurs primarily during classroom instruction. Their purpose is to give students with dyslexia an opportunity to learn in a manner that is not limited by their reading difficulties. The student needs to demonstrate the need for an accommodation. Some accommodations may include frequently misspelled word lists, copies of class notes, oral administration, extra time on assignments and tests. Many of these accommodations may be used during state-required testing, following the rules established for each test. Environment can alter the course of dyslexia. Surrounding our students with a literature-rich learning environment at school and home can set a strong foundation for success. Make reading fun and accessible through all kinds of formats: magazines, comic books, graphic novels, and audiobooks. Here are a few tips to do at home. If they struggle with a word, let them attempt it, but then read the word and move on. Having you model reading is a good auditory practice. Stop and talk about what they have read. Asking your child about what he or she read provides the opportunity for verbal interaction with text and increases comprehension. Access YouTube for audiobooks. Here are a few sites to support your learning. These sites have links to many helpful apps. Some are free, but some require purchase. There is some overlap between the lists, but they each have useful information. These are a few dyslexia websites that share many resources. Learning Ally are audiobooks. It requires a fee and proof of disability, but provides access to audiobooks and textbooks. Bookshare is free, but requires proof of disability. Dyslexia Advantage has useful information for students approaching the college years. Region 10. Region 10 is an educational service center for Dallas and leading site for dyslexia information and resources. The University of Michigan has a department devoted to the study of dyslexia. Thank you for coming and learning more about dyslexia. If you have any further questions, your campus's reading specialist is here to support you.
All right, so that provided us with some great information. I'm going to expand on it just a little bit. Let's pull this back up. So one of the things that they showed you in the video was a link to Kevin O'Leary's video. And I wanted to be sure that you were able to see this because it is a great testimony to what it's like to live with dyslexia and the encouragement to work through it and to work with it. If you don't know who Kevin O'Leary is, he is on the show Shark Tank. Mr. Wonderful is seen right here in the middle. And so I'm going to pull this up real quick and let you take a glance at his story.
You're dyslexic.
Yes.
You learned that at a pretty young age.
I was dyslexic and very much so. It was very challenging for me. I couldn't read in the early ages, and it really affects your reading score and gets you pushed back. But there was a woman named Marjorie Golick, who's very famous out of University McGill, with Sam Rabinovich, and I became part of an experimental class. They were testing an idea at the time, and it was my mother that got me in that class. She kind of made sure that I got in there somehow, and I thank her so much for it. Their thesis went like this: you feel so weird when you're dyslexic because, and I can still do this, I can read upside down, I can read in a mirror. And what Marjorie said was, look, this is not a fault, you have a superpower. And when you're that young, you buy into that, it gives you the confidence you need. And that's what occurred to me. She gave me that confidence.
And that carried you a long way.
Yeah.
It makes you so emotional. Why is that?
Definitely. Oh, excuse me. I think of those days.
I think people only see your hard shell,
Yeah.
and they probably think that you never ran into challenges
Those were
like
tough
that.
times. They were very tough times because I was really wondering if I was ever going to make it. It was, you know, those were very tough times. I was failing. There was a lot of panic in my own family. My teachers weren't sure, and I knew I was very lucky. I was very lucky, and I meet lots of dyslexic people today, and I give them encouragement because it is a superpower.
So you hear right there, he talks about this superpower. So one thing that I want to make sure and clarify is he mentioned at the beginning that he was dyslexic. Now, dyslexia is something that our students who have these characteristics live with their entire lives. So while he talked about how he can still see things backwards and read them and still see them in the mirror and read them, he still struggles with this. However, he has been equipped with the coping mechanisms and strategies to be able to meet those needs and those challenges while not erasing that superpower. He's able to still proceed and grow. So the first thing I wanted to share is if you are concerned, what you should do. And the first thing is that you obviously want to contact your child's teacher. Your child's teacher spends every day in and out with your child, watching them work through various subject areas, seeing their strengths and their areas of need. They also see where the breakdown is specifically in their reading or writing ability. And so I highly suggest contacting your child's teacher to see if they are noticing the same concerns that you are at home. Sometimes our students who struggle always come home and they are ready to just let loose. I have a child of my own who does this. He has been working so hard during the day at school that when he gets home, his brain just needs to dump and he needs time to not focus on schoolwork anymore, but just to be a kid. So sometimes this happens and you'll notice that your child's teacher is telling you in class, they're working really hard. They're doing a great job. It took me a long time with my kiddo to understand that he was doing okay. It's just his brain was too overloaded from all of the learning he'd done during the day. And at home, we really needed that time to just be a kid. But if your teacher is still seeing the same concerns you are in the classroom, then it would be time to start inquiring about things that the teacher is doing to help your student in the classroom that might be also beneficial at home, so that you guys can be on the same page, providing the same strategies, the same routines, and the same structure for your child to help that learning continue. Teachers in the classroom are helping to provide extra support for all students. I want you to hear me say that very clearly, all students. All students are engaging in small group time with the teacher, with other teachers in other classrooms. We do switch classes because we're not only trying to meet the needs of those that are struggling, we're also trying to enrich those and help those grow that are not struggling and need to be pushed higher. So we are individualizing instruction for all of these students to help meet their individual needs. So some of those examples are, you might hear your teacher talking about guided reading. These are groups where students are meeting with the teacher at their individual guided reading level with other students of the same ability, and they are working through various skills and texts to help grow their reading. A student who is struggling might engage in an extra dose of guided reading. This might be something focused on fluency, might be focused on an extra aspect of phonological awareness, the sounds in words, might be focused on some of those skills such as rhyming or alliteration or blending, things of that nature that your child might be struggling with, in addition to meeting the need of just reading with their peers. The extra dose of guided reading also might have an intervention, and those are called tier interventions. Some of these I will talk about in just a little bit, but these are done in small group with classroom teachers. They're also done when we do our morning intervention time and we switch classes. So I'll go over those in just a little bit. Another one of our campus interventions is iStation. Now this year, every student has access to iStation. So when we speak of this as an intervention, it's not necessarily, like I said a minute ago, just for students that are struggling. This iStation program has first assessed every student to see exactly where they are and anything that they are struggling with, whether it's on grade level, below grade level, or even above grade level, to help meet the needs of students and grow them from where they're at. iStation can also be done at home, and you can go to istation.com and follow the link at the top of the page to download it to your device at home. This is a great resource. The video discussed some reading screeners that are conducted in order to see struggles of students, but also in order to possibly screen for early signs of dyslexia. Now, these screeners are not, let me repeat that, they are not formally identifying students with dyslexia. They are just screeners. We talked about in the video how phonological awareness are some of those early skills in reading that a lot of dyslexic students struggle with. What these screeners do is they allow us to provide historical data of students that are struggling from kindergarten through second grade. Because of House Bill 3, it is stated that kindergarten and first grade students are needed to have a specific time where these assessments screen them for dyslexia. In kindergarten, the past 2 years, we've started using an assessment called TextKIA, the Texas Kindergarten Entry Assessment. In first grade and in second grade, we use TPRI, which has been used for many years. However, the past 2 years, due to our digital learning platforms, we've been able to use the website CLI Engage to engage our students in these assessments to make it more easy for teachers on their side, as well as easier for students on their side to demonstrate their learning. For kindergarten, this is done 3 times a year, beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year, to track growth. The end of the year data is collected by the district and the state as the early reading dyslexic screener. Again, this is not a formal diagnosis. What this does is this allows us to identify students who might have potential indicators of dyslexia. Once we see that data, we automatically put these students into groups to meet those needs with specified interventions that target those skills and help students grow. Now, although the kindergarten screener is not till the end of the year, we are tracking data throughout the year in kinder and going ahead and providing some of those interventions earlier on. We don't wait for an entire year to do that. That wouldn't be beneficial to any student. So even though the formal identification is at the end of the year, just know that we are tracking throughout the year and providing those interventions. With TPRI, our first and second graders do take this. However, the dyslexia snapshot, the potential indicator snapshot, is done in January. Now, I will tell you, our Rockstar first grade teachers have already started at the beginning of this year completing interventions for students based on the needs that they see. So again, this formal snapshot is just data for the district. However, we've already started utilizing that to help meet those needs. And again, they take it in second grade, but it's not designated by the state as an early reading screener. However, it is used to help us track, because typically we start seeing that disparity in skill in second grade, where students who have struggled in kinder and first start growing and catching on, but those who might have those potential indicators might still continue to struggle. So we will have this historical data to help us in identifying those students. But know that at Fernandez, we never wait for a single identification from these formal screeners to meet those needs. We have started from day one to help meet those children's needs. We are putting them in groups with teachers We are putting them in groups with the reading specialist, and we are providing those interventions. If you ever want more information about what your child's receiving, don't hesitate to ask your classroom teacher or the reading specialist, myself, to get more information. The next thing I wanted to share from you was what the video spoke about in regards to response to intervention. When we talk about response to intervention, we're talking about a tiered system. And if you think of it right here, like this triangle, at the bottom is the largest portion of the triangle, and these are what we call our tier 1 students. Tier 1 students are every single student in the entire school. Tier 1 is best practice, general classroom instruction. When we think about tier 2, these are a smaller percentage of students that might need a little bit of extra help on grade level material. And tier 3 students are those that are significantly behind grade level, that are needing specialized instruction. So here's an extra look into these specific tiers. Again, tier 1 is 80 to 100% of students. Every child, whether they are at tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3, will receive tier 1 instruction. This is general classroom instruction on grade level skills. Tier 1 strategies are used for all students. The screenings that help to identify students who are at risk of falling behind in their peers academically or behaviorally are used on things such as our iStation beginning of the year assessment, as well as our MAP for math. Small groups of differentiated instruction may be implemented to target students' unique strengths and weaknesses. Again, this is for every student, our general classroom setting. If students are struggling, teachers will meet with their grade level teams to discuss them possibly moving to a tier 2. This is only about 15% of students that are at tier 2. Tier 2 students receive both tier 1 and tier 2 instruction. So these are only some students who are in need of greater support. These students might receive extra doses of lessons in those small groups. Remember, I spoke about the extra guided reading. They might receive extra time on iStation, or might have resources such as myself as the reading specialist or our math specialist. The teachers monitor these students and do every other week progress monitoring to track the growth. If students are continuing to struggle at a tier 2 and are not making any progress in the interventions they're currently receiving, then the teachers will meet with the reading specialist, the math specialist, and the administration team to discuss the possibility of moving to a tier 3. Tier 3 are only 5% of our students. It is a very small population. These students designated at a tier 3 are receiving tier 2 instruction and tier 1 instruction. On top of this, they are receiving extra specified interventions that are systematic and explicit and research-based. These interventions are chosen based on the student's need. We have various interventions I'm about to show you that meet the strengths and weaknesses of different skills. So some of these interventions are more on the phonological side and can meet those needs more clearly. Some are more on the comprehension side. So it depends on the conversation between the teacher team as well as admin and specialists as to what intervention we decide is best for that student. These students are tracked weekly. The teachers are taking progress monitoring data weekly to see if there is any growth. And the conversation continues to happen between the admin team, the specialists, and the teachers to see if these interventions are the best fit for those students or if they need to change. At the bottom, you'll notice this says intensity increases as tiers rise. The students can move continuously through these tiers. Just because a child is at a tier 3 for this semester does not necessarily mean they will be at a tier 3 the next year. As needs arise and strengths and weaknesses fluctuate, they move through the tiers to get their varied levels of support. This is how we benefit and meet the needs of students individually to help them grow. When we're looking at specifically dyslexia instruction, we are talking about interventions that are, again, systematic, explicit, and research-based. The interventions you see on the screen here are not solely for dyslexia. These are reading interventions. However, our district has noted that these interventions have good quality instruction in those skills that typically are deficits for dyslexia students. So your student might be already receiving open court reading or corrective reading or soar to success, Herman method, or fast track as interventions. But that does not mean they are dyslexic. Our students who have been identified as having characteristics of dyslexia will receive one of these interventions. But we have other students also on these programs because, like I stated before, our teachers know the strengths of these programs and want to pair them with students to meet them exactly where they are to help them grow. Another resource that we have is Learning Ally. You heard this spoken of in the video. It mentioned in the video that it is at a cost. It's not anymore. Yay! We are so excited. We are starting to push this year. Learning Ally is a program that helps to level the playing field. You know, we talk about students that struggle with reading, and if we are solely meeting their need at their individual reading level and not pushing their comprehension past that, we're doing them a disservice. Just because they might not be able to read words at a higher level does not mean that they cannot think at a higher level. So one of the things that this program does is it helps to level that playing field. We talk about equality, giving everybody the same thing, versus equity, which is making sure we provide things that make everyone able to be successful, right? If your child is struggling in reading, they might have access to Learning Ally. Now, this is only available for students who have a reading deficit. That does not mean only dyslexic students. It may be any of our students that are in special education that have a reading identification. It will mean our dyslexic students, they do have it. It might mean our ESL students who might need extra support as well. And it might also mean that our students who have been tracked in the tier system have that reading struggle. This is a program you can use at home. If you go to read.learningally.org and look at the download feature, you can find it for any of your devices. This is a video right here that is giving you access to be able to see some of the benefits of Learning Ally. I'm going to go ahead and let you listen to it.
We are so glad that you are learning more about how to support your child in their educational journey. Learning Ally firmly believes in giving your child access to the content they need at their grade level and cognitive level in order to keep up with their classes and build confidence in their academic journey. Let's discover how to use the Learning Ally reading app. Learning Ally Human Read audiobooks can play on Apple devices, Android devices, Chromebooks, PCs, and Macs. To install the Learning Ally reading app, go to the App Store of the device you are using and search for Learning Ally. You will see an icon that looks like what you see on the screen. Once the app is downloaded, your student will log in with the credentials that they receive from their teacher. You will immediately see any books your teacher has added to their bookshelf. Teachers usually add the assigned reading materials, including textbooks and novels, which are the books they have to read. However, we know that your child probably has some books they want to read. Notice the Add Books button. We want to give your students the autonomy to take control over their own learning and add books for themselves. Click that Add Books button, and it will take you to the online library, a library of over 80,000 human-read audiobooks. You can type in the name of a book or a keyword or ISBN number for a textbook. Once you search for a particular keyword or title, you will notice two different formats of books. Voice text titles are books that have the text on the screen of the device that you're using. A classic audio format is the human audio, and you're meant to pair that with a hardback book. Filter options are also available for you to search by subject, grade, and lexile level. Don't forget that many children that struggle with reading can comprehend well above their ability to decode, above a particular level. On grade level books that are normally outside of your child's decoding range can be empowering for them because they can read and comprehend what their friends and classmates are reading. Choose the book that you would like to assign and click Add to Bookshelf. Now, when you return to the app, go to the upper right-hand corner, click on Update My Books, and now that book has been added to your bookshelf. You just need to download it. Once that book is downloaded, your child has become mobile, and they can read anywhere, on the bus, at home, or anywhere that they would like.
Students who have access to this will be able to log in with their S number and their 4x4. If you have any questions, if you try to log in and don't have access, feel free to contact your classroom teacher to see if your child is able to utilize this resource. Again, it is a great program. Teachers might not have students fully set in it yet, so just give it a little bit of time, but don't hesitate to inquire if you're interested. That is the end of my presentation. I hope this was helpful and beneficial to you. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact myself or your child's classroom teacher. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Have a wonderful day.